Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Moving Sales Professionals and Let's Talk Moving podcast. And with me today, I have Nate Becker with Higher Ground Moving in Bend,
Howdy.
Oregon. And getting here today has been a real trip for Nate, no pun intended. So, Nate, please tell me what happened.
Yeah, I broke my leg last night, technically. So
Technically.
I compete. I don't compete anymore, but I was at a wrestling practice
Uh-huh.
for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling. Some of the guys were competing, so there was a air of bravado in the room. But I was just trying to wrestle with another guy and shot in for a takedown, and he said no, thank you. And I rolled my ankle so bad that I broke my leg.
Oh,
Just
wow.
just a I've been doing it for 10 plus years and I've never rolled my ankle so bad that it hurt. This one hurt so bad. I dislocated it, rolled the ankle around so hard that it broke my fibia, I think it's called.
Yeah, something.
It's not the front bone in my shin, but the backbone in my shin. And
Oh,
sprained the ankle, and so now I'm on crutches and no cast, but I'm on in a boot.
fun times.
Yeah, it was fun getting into my little office here to hang out with you. I have stairs and crutches aren't
Yeah, don't I feel for you. When my wife was pregnant, I can't remember right now if it was with my youngest or my oldest, but when she was pregnant with one of them, so I play hockey. And at that time we went to go on a roller rink, and my bud decided to participate in the race. And I'm kicking everybody's butt. I'm rounding like the final corner, and then my leg buckles underneath me, and I ended up slamming my left knee hard against that
oh
wooden floor,
no.
hard, and just twisted over. Now on the left side, I showed my kid that you know what, it was my daughter that she was pregnant with because my son was with me. So I got up, I got up, but I showed that I get up after a big fall. But later
Mhm.
that night, I had to go to patient first, and until I finally got a cortisone shot a few weeks later, like it was bad because my wife was pregnant, so she constantly wanted something, and we live in a townhouse. So I was one hopping up the stairs, one hopping down the stairs. It is not fun when you cannot bend your knee,
I
and it
know.
hurts, and it hurts badly. And I tell you not, when they do that cortisone shot, that needle is like this big. So like, and me, I'm the type of person like when if they take my blood, I like watch it like, ooh, look at that. It's
Me
kind of
too.
dark, cool, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, some people it's whatever, they're scared of blood. I'm definitely not one of those. But when I saw the size of that needle, I'm like, I am not looking at that.
Mhm.
And that hurt. I mean, it helped afterwards, but it hurt. And then the
Oh yeah.
doctor looks at me and he's thinking he's being funny. He's like, "You're turning green. Why is that?" And I'm thinking, man, if I could stick that needle up your, I'd like to see what color you turn.
I've had
And now for a quick message from our sponsors. For a limited time only, we have partnered with an SEO and marketing company with discounted rates for their services. Schedule an appointment via Calendly link below to learn more. Thank you. And now getting back to the podcast.
my fair share of injuries for sure. And then this is pretty unexpected. Luckily, it's not during the busy season because I'm still on my trucks. Actually, we have three trucks. Anyway, I own Higher Ground Moving in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of towns around me. We're kind of right there in the high desert, in the middle of the high desert of Oregon. And I'm normally on our trucks uh, 4 to 5 days a week. But right now it's a little bit slower, and I just hired another driver yesterday. So
So
this
you're
couldn't
in
happen
luck
at a
for
better
next
time.
couple of weeks.
Yeah, sorry guys, can't help. It's gonna be tough for
Excuses,
me. I'm an active
excuses.
person.
But
Yeah,
rub some dirt on
I already tried that. I'll get some new dirt.
it.
I'll get some new dirt.
Yeah, new dirt. All right. So Nate, why did you start a moving company? What led you to that
Pretty good
rash
question.
decision?
I'll be honest with you. Um, I've worked at a few small mom and pop moving companies, and they were run very poorly. We're talking my first moving company I ever worked for, the boss bought us all beers at lunch. Kind of weird.
Good
that's
way to
the
go.
culture that they had. And then I worked for a few other mom and pop shops before I finally worked for United Van
Okay.
Lines. And that was an eye opener. I got to drive for them, their 53 footers, and take shipments up and down the West Coast. That was fun, but a lot of locals.
That's about the only thing that I haven't done in moving. I definitely did never got a CDL or driven a tractor trailer. I've done everything else.
I got my CDL when I was my Class A CDL when I was 19. I needed it. I had kids as well. But anyway, I was working for United, and I didn't really like the team at United that we had. I didn't like the guys, and I thought I didn't like the way that the lady ran the company, and I thought I could do it a lot better. And I thought wrong. Moving is hard. Moving is very hard.
Moving the right way is hard.
Moving the right way is hard. So my first year, I started business 2019 because I thought I could do it better than United Van Lines. So I was a little pig-headed. I got a rude awakening that it was very difficult to run a proper company, licensed and insured with the proper W-2 guys. So 2019 was a very steep learning curve full of, oh, I didn't know you had to do that. And by the time 2020 came, my wife was way more involved and we were way more legitimate, legal, got our first real truck. The first whole year in business, I was renting trucks just to make sure I could do it. But by the time my wife, Rachel, got really involved, we got fully legal, fully legit, everything above board perfect. Then I was finally able to hire a very good hire in a lady named Ruby. She's our office manager, ops manager, jack of all trades, camp counselor. So the biggest thing for me was being able to have the right people in place, because when it was just me, it was a bit of a disaster. But once I got my wife and Ruby and the right movers in place, things have really been going swell.
And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. All right. So you're mentioning this. So how much upfront cost did you have on day one? What did you put in?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So day one, I had a debit card that might have had $200-300 on it, and that's how much money I had. So I went and I rented a U-Haul 26 footer, and I rented pads, and I did my first job and made my first $500, returned it. And then with that money, I bought a hand truck and a couple pads and some ratchet straps, got another job the next day, rented a truck again, brought those pads and ratchet straps in my personal vehicle to the U-Haul rental yard, put all that into the U-Haul, did my job, made my money, did it again, rinsed and repeated that for a week or two, not even 2 weeks, and had enough money to buy a whole bunch of pads. In my opinion, I had maybe 50 moving pads that I bought from Harbor Freight, and I had a second-hand truck and 10 ratchet straps and maybe some forearm forklifts. And I was
Yeah.
able to service jobs. I put ads up on Craigslist to get these jobs, and I put ads up on Craigslist to get these employees in the first year.
Hey, that's a way to hustle. I always appreciate that. I mean, I started this place. I had a partner at the time, had him for the first year, and then after that, it was just me because the partner decided a year later that this was not going to work. And the moment he left, I signed like 7 companies because he was honestly slowing me down. And it was yeah. I mean, I put in 5 grand, he put in 5 grand. Like I made that money over the summer, put it away. So it was like, and then I had that to put in, and then
Hmm.
from there, we got to where we are. So it was like the first year was rough. I mean, we started in 2018, so it took a little bit, but I mean, we weren't even going to open until 2019 in January. But we ended up opening in October because we had somebody that I used to work with at one of the moving companies call me and say, "Hey, I'm looking for sales help." And I said, "Well, you got perfect timing." And he ended up being our first client, and that was good. And then we added a couple of more, and it just kept going up from there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's professional sales are hard to find, and that's what we provide.
No, I love seeing you guys in your shirts with your logos around. Because you always have, I feel like you always have a headset on every time I walk. You could be in the middle of a seminar and you still have a headset on for some reason, I swear.
I
It's like
did
you're
not
always
have a
working.
headset there. My shirt had a headset on it, but I didn't have a
Maybe
headset.
that's maybe I'm just imagining I just have your logo and you so
Yeah, yeah.
intertwined. So you started in 2018.
Well,
To,
I started the call center in 2002. I mean,
yeah,
I've been
that.
doing sales since I was like 17, 18 years old. I'm
I would
40.
assume you've been, yeah.
I'm 40. I mean, I've been doing sales for moving companies since 2003. So it's been a while,
So you made it through 2007, 2009.
I was working for moving companies. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't working for myself, but I've done everything. Like I said, besides jumping on 53-foot truck. So you're talking about, I went on the job physically myself. I've
Mhm.
done operation. I've done dispatch. I've done sales. I became a sales manager.
Yeah, you
But
get it.
sales was always something that I was very, very good at. I mean,
Mhm.
if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd probably tell you that I'm good at sales, but I hate it. I can't
Well,
say that. I can't say that anymore, truly, because at this point, I love what I do. It's fun for me. I mean, honestly, just like going to events and talking to a bunch of people, it's fun for me. It's
mhm.
natural. It's not. I don't feel like I'm bogged down at all. It's normal for me, and I enjoy it. It's a blast. And as far as everything else goes, I mean, it's all about doing it right. It's about doing it right. It's about creating connection with people. It's about being creative. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't talk about that enough. I talk about creativity all the time. You got to be, especially in the current situation that everybody's dealing with the market, with the housing. I mean, the big takeaway, and I mentioned it in one of my shorts, one big takeaway that I had because I went to two events. I went to
Yep,
Arizona.
right.
I was there with you at the Luis Massaro event.
Mhm.
And then the following week, that following Monday, I went to New York State Movers Association event on the East Coast. And the takeaway from everybody is, frankly, you really gotta buckle down. You really gotta come up with things that are gonna separate you from your competition because at the end of the day, you'd love to keep the prices high. But the problem is
Mhm.
that do you want you guys to work? Because realistically, whether you're running a call center like I am, or whether you're running a moving company, our guys are our everything. If we don't have our
Of
people,
course, yeah.
we're not going to have a business, period. Which means that you got to keep your good people working because if they're not working, you're not going to have them. If you're not going to have them, you're not going to have a company. It's really,
That's
unfortunately, it's that simple. And
mhm.
so you have to like step over your ego and realize that, hey, if all my competition in the area that's been around in business about as long as I have is charging X amount of dollars per hour or X amount of dollars for long distance
Well,
or
here's
whatever,
what,
I can't be too much more than that because if I am, I'm going to lose out.
of course, of course. Well, here in the great state of Oregon, we're heavily tariffed on what
Right.
we can and cannot charge.
Yeah, you guys
And
are.
in Central Oregon, there's really only two tariffs to choose from. That's in the most of Oregon. There's only two tariffs to choose from, and that makes our prices are par with the other moving companies in town. So competing on price, luckily, is not something that any of us do
No,
or
yeah. I mean, if you have to
have to worry
follow
about
one
yet.
tariff or another, you don't have a choice. So
We
you
don't have
have
a choice.
you have basically similar pricing. So
Mhm.
that means you need to separate yourself differently. So that means partnering maybe with a local charity of some sort or
Mhm.
doing something or doing like Move for Hunger, which I'm a big fan of. Uh,
Okay.
but
I'm interested in the Move for Hunger. I'm glad you brought that particular one up. I'm looking to do something similar to that
so
in these
if you
times.
look, I did an episode with the owner of Move for Hunger with Adam
Okay.
Lowy. So if you
Yeah, I'll
just
check it
look,
out.
yeah, check out that episode. There's links in there, and you can reach out to them and see what that costs, how it runs and stuff like that. But I mean, in the nutshell, what it is they basically take the people's canned food and will bring it to local like kitchens and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I think
we have a vehicle that could do that. Yeah.
right, but I think but I mean you do that from the job. So
Mhm. Of
you ask him, but the thing is that you can use that in your pitch when
course.
you call these people, and you can say, "Oh, and by the way, by
Hmm.
choosing us, you get to help us fight world hunger."
I'll write that one down. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean,
So if you do that and your competition is not, then you're doing something different. And
yeah,
that
it's
already that like if the price is not something that can separate you,
mhm.
things like this, whether it's that or whether it's something like Habitat for Humanity or some of the other charities that are out there, if it separates you, it makes you different and it attracts people to you. Like
Yeah.
do something for a local church, do something at a local soup kitchen or whatever, help in
If there's
an
good that
old
can be
folks
done, of
home, yeah, I'm sure there's always something.
course.
Look, there's always people that need help. There's always charities. There's always, group homes. There's always, unfortunately, there's enough people out there that are homeless. There's a lot of things that go on. There's kids
There's a
that
lot
don't
of bad
have,
in the world. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of bad things in the world. So I'm sure there's like, yeah, I mean, obviously you're using it for your own ends as a gimmick, no question.
No,
But
nothing.
at the same time, you are doing a good thing. So
Mhm.
don't, just because you're doing it as a gimmick does not mean that the cause is not worth
Even
you
at its
participating.
even as macro or as micro, doing good things feels good, and feeling good feels good. So in the end, doing good things is selfish because doing good things makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I would love to start a nonprofit branch of Higher Ground Moving to be able to help do the food drives like you just said, or be able to
Mhm.
help
Yeah.
people who can't
Well,
afford
that's
to
what I
move,
mean.
or
Adam Lowy used to have like, and he still does, but he started having a moving company. He's been a
Mhm.
mover for the longest time. So that's exactly what he did, basically. But yeah, I mean, but by even participating with some of these organizations, you may come up with your own idea that's going to allow you to do what you're talking about. So I mean, I think in the end, whether we have money or don't have money, if we do certain things that allow this world to be a better place to a degree, even if we do something very small, but if everybody does something really small, overall, we're doing something to make this world much better place than it is at times. And, times are tough. I mean, right now we got two wars going on, I mean, there's no joke. There's people dying every day, innocent people.
Oh yeah.
So it's horrible. And it's, for me, for example, I got family in both places. So I got family in Ukraine, I got family in Israel. So they're like, I'm affected on both sides. So I'm watching news feverishly every single day, reading what's going on in both places. And it's not,
And it's got to be hard for you because there's nothing you could do
there's
from.
nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing. And you're just like, you're clenching your teeth and you're going, man, why isn't the government doing something? And like, I mean, obviously my first allegiance is definitely in my home country, which is Ukraine. So it's like that's been killing me forever because like I'm pretty outspoken about things like that because I think it's important to hold your ground. And while somebody may not like it, frankly, I don't care.
Well, if you have a platform, it'd almost be foolish not to at least.
Well, I don't I don't want to make politicize this. I don't want to make it political, but those two things are close to home to me. And I feel that I do need to take a stand on it, and I do.
Good.
And I do.
That's
And it's
important.
not, I don't use that for promotional purposes. I use it because that's the way that I feel about it.
Yeah, I
So,
respect that.
but ultimately, yeah, that's where we are. So getting back to your company, because I'm not here to talk about myself. I can't, I'm not going to, I don't want to. So where do you see Higher Ground moving going in the next 5 years?
Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked. In the next 5 years, I see Higher Ground.
Going
Well,
to Higher Ground.
yeah, I'm going to high. Yeah, this thing, Stevie Wonder. Yeah,
Is
no. In the next 5 years, I see us starting a long distance branch. We're a bit
Mhm.
of an island in Bend, Oregon. There's really no towns, no cities nearby. We have small towns, Redmond, and other beautiful towns, Prineville, Lapine, but they're not big towns. And really, we service all those towns from our centralized location in Bend anyway. But So we'd like to be able to develop a long distance branch from Central Oregon outward in the West Coast, just kind of touching the West Coast states, maybe as far as Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
over to maybe Utah, but
Mm.
kind of keep it in this region.
There's
That's where
there's
I see
something
it
in Utah.
develop. There is Salt Lake. Salt Lake's a gosh darn beautiful,
Really? Never
beautiful.
been there. I lived in California, but I haven't been too much outside of it. And it's close.
Yeah,
It's crazy. I lived in Los Angeles, which is only like 2 hours away or so
yeah.
from Las Vegas, but I've never been to Vegas.
Yeah,
So
when I was driving for United, I got to actually appreciate Utah. I mean, I've done Salt Lake. Salt Lake's beautiful, but driving and trucking and seeing the mountains and the sunrise and sets and the temperature changes throughout the day, and Idaho as well. Just oh my gosh. So I'd like to
yeah,
expand into the into beyond the
I'd like
village.
to go on a road trip one of these days. Just maybe take my kids and just drive across the country and just see things. I think it would be neat.
Well, let's do it this summer.
Yeah, I doubt it. My kids, well, maybe when they're a little bit older, but it would be a neat thing to just go on a road trip and see things because there's so much to see in this country. And
Oh my
like, I
gosh.
mean, I've been to certain places. I've been to Florida. I've been, all over the East Coast, but haven't been to, to really much of West Coast. I mean, I've been to Arizona, I've been to California, but that's really about it. Been to Houston for an interview a long time ago.
A very underrated area. Don't tell your listeners this, but is the Oregon coast. It's underrated. It doesn't get a fair rap. You might have seen it on the news recently. There's a Haystack Rock, I think it's called. There was a cougar on it. A lot of people took
Okay.
a picture of a cougar on the ocean and a rock island. It was really neat. We have really majestic rock features along our Oregon coast.
That's cool.
Yeah,
One of
yeah.
these days, I'd like to make it to Washington State and Oregon just to check it out. It would be cool one of these days to
Well,
travel.
that's a good thing about owning a moving company. I'm not sure who's going to listen to this podcast and want to be inspired to start a moving company because, like I said, I started my moving company with dust bunnies in my pockets, just dust bunnies and excuses, and I turned those dust bunnies into monies.
But I
I
think you got to have that determination. It's so much like no
want to get
matter.
off the couch. You got to do
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to, you got to be motivated enough, whether because you're trying to change your own personal life or whether it's your family or whatever, you got to have goals and you got to do things and
Well, there needs to
you
be
got
a
to be able
reason.
to, yeah, then you got to be able to motivate yourself because honestly, there's plenty of motivational speaker out there and motivational speaker can motivate you maybe for a few hours, maybe for a few weeks, but if you're not motivated yourself, that motivation that you got from a speaker of some sort is going to run out sooner or later. So you need to be able to motivate yourself.
I'd like to compound on that just a bit, just for a second. It's definitely one big part motivation, but it's another part of just writing it down, making your goal, being intentional, and then just doing it. Even if it
Strategic.
sucks, just do it. It's I mean, you don't have to be motivated. You can be unmotivated and still just do it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I don't know if an unmotivated person is gonna just do it. They're gonna lack the motivation to just do it. And sometimes
Yeah,
you just have to ride through it. And if you're not motivated, you're not gonna ride through it. You're just gonna give up, frankly.
it
And
makes
that's
sense.
one thing that you can't do in any business and moving right now, especially.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
tough. If you're
If
not
someone
willing to fight for it, then you're not going to be in business very long.
if someone told me they wanted to start a moving company today, I would say wait, wait until
Yeah.
the hard part's over and start on the easy side again.
Yeah. But
What do you think?
I think you can start, especially if you're good with social media, because social media space is so ripe. There's this great company in UK that I like a lot. It's called Pask Removals
How do you spell
and
that?
Pask, Pask.
Okay, okay, of
And you can actually listen. I did a podcast with the guy. So, and he's
course.
a soccer player, right, in UK. He plays for one of the big, I was either Coventry or whatever, but he's played for a bunch of teams. So if you look up Josh Pask, you'll find
Okay.
him very, very quickly. on
Gotcha.
Google, right? So he owns a moving company. It's called Pask Removals, and social media. That's his big thing. Facebook and like things like that. He's just really all over it. I mean, it helps, of course, that people recognize him, especially in UK. You're not going to have too many people unless they're big soccer fans know who he is here in US. But over there, yeah, of course they know who he is. They're big soccer fans over there. It's a huge football world over there, right? So, but yeah, I mean, he's taken that to the nth degree, and he states that majority of my clients are Facebook.
I'll check it out. We do get a decent amount of clients from Facebook, and our clients from Facebook don't come directly from me saying, "Hey, come get our company. We're awesome." They come from chat rooms where
Yeah,
someone else mentions
yeah.
our company and saying, "I should
Right,
try
but in order
Hydra."
to do that, you also got to get in those chat
You,
rooms, and you got to really put that social media marketing to work. And
exactly.
right now, that's important. So, I mean, you can start something, but you also you got to know that you're going to be competing with a lot of movers that feel like they're up against up against it. So it's like you got to do something different that they're not doing that's going to bring you those customers. Not necessarily on pricing, because honestly, when it really comes down to it, $5-10 difference an hour if you're doing local moves and a good salesperson is enough for you to book jobs. You don't have to be like it used to be. If you start a moving company, you had to like charge $60, $70 an hour, something really, really low. You don't have to do that anymore. Like being $5 to $10 off the movers that are in your area that's been around for a long time could be enough for you to get work.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
I guarantee
gotta
it.
you
You're right.
gotta really sell it, and you gotta really follow up, and you gotta do things that separates you. And
Mhm.
once again, like social media, it's huge. And the other big takeaway that I had from the two events that I went to is that it's renters market, because
Yeah.
today it makes more sense to rent a house than to buy a house. I mean, obviously, like we were around in 2010 when all these houses were on the bubble, and then it burst, and all
Mhm.
these people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on the homes that they bought that weren't worth the money that they bought it for. And this is the same exact thing that's happening right now. The question is, when is the bubble going to burst? Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? Who knows? That part I couldn't answer. I wish I could.
Right.
Then I
Be a rich
I'd
man,
play the lottery, or
of
do
course.
something. I'm sure there's like odds in Vegas and bookies about when the bubble's going to burst. I would
Ah,
not be surprised.
you play Wall Street.
Something, yeah, you absolutely would if you could pinpoint it like that. But I
Oh
mean,
my
we
gosh.
know it's going to happen, but we don't know when it's going to happen.
Right.
So,
Eh,
but I mean, if we can survive this time, and yes, I have to use the word survive.
mm,
If we get through this time, then whenever it does go back up, when the housing market rebounds, we're going to be in much better position, and
well,
we
any
all should
company
all
that,
make back what we lost or
of
didn't make.
course, and anybody that, or any company that's really been able to take these slower times and these harder times and buckle down and work on their standards,
Mm-hmm.
their procedures, their operations, their every part of their company, moving company in this part, sales company, whatever it may be, we're going to come through this way stronger. We're going to have that grandfather strength in us because
Yeah.
we've been through it.
Right. Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So that's
Of course.
definitely something that you're going to learn. And now with the slower time, it's also the time to perfect your processes. It's also a time to uh, change or adjust your procedures and your policies and things like that, what
Yeah,
you're doing with.
reevaluate them.
Yeah, reevaluate that,
Are they serving
reevaluate
me?
who you're looking for, what kind of worker, what is your perfect client, what is your perfect worker, what do they look like, what do they sound like, how do they approach their everyday thing, whether it's it's
Just get to
a
know
job that
who
you're
your
doing. Yeah,
potential, get
get
to
to
know
know
who
your
you want. Yeah,
community, really
yeah.
get to know your community, really learn where you are,
And
make
you need to
connections.
be serious. We have a smaller community. There's 100,000 people who live here, but we're all a closer knit community. You sneeze and someone's gonna say God bless you.
Mm,
You say something mean, someone's gonna say, hey, I actually know that person. So nothing goes unnoticed here. So
Well, it's the
any
same as the moving industry. It's a very
nothing
small
goes
niche,
unknown.
and yeah,
Oh my
things
gosh, it
get
really
around
is.
very quickly.
And I love this the moving community. It's everyone's so open to network together. I'm not sure if it's just the people that I keep meeting like you guys, but it feels to me like the whole moving community is a very friendly community, which I didn't
I
be
would
that.
say that that's generally true. There are a few exceptions to the rule that I've run into,
Couple
but
grumpy
overall,
Gus's.
mm,
Some you run into a couple grumpy Gus's who don't want to network and share, or
well, look, I think overall we're all want to get to a point realistically where there's a lot more licensed than unlicensed out there, and we want
that's
to
a big
get to a
one
point where
for us
there are
too.
there are moving companies and owners that genuinely care about their clients and their communities. So that some of the ones that look to change their name 50 billion times or not doing honest work or not whatever, we want those. I mean, honestly, I think everybody that's doing honest work wants those people out of the industry. Like
Yeah, of
like
course.
I don't work with anybody that's not licensed, and I don't work with anybody that doesn't have uh, good ratings and doesn't have an intention to build a brand. I'm not interested in those clients, to be honest with you, and
I'm
I don't want them to call me.
I respect that because I'm very, very interested in my brand and really making sure that my brand is um is being looked at how I want it to be seen. I want my guys to project the brand, the image, the culture every day. We talk about it pretty much every day on how to be higher ground.
Yeah, culture is so important in in any company. You want to
Mhm.
build something that's like where it almost feels like your second family or family away from home, where you feel like, if you're falling down, somebody's going to catch you, and you're feeling that there are people there, that the support network is there, and it's just a completely different feeling. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's still a job, yeah, it's still work, but you don't want it to. mm, you don't want it to feel like it's the grind, you know?
Mhm.
You want it to feel like you're working with people that you like. And if you ultimately all of you are buying into the company culture and all of you are buying into what you're trying to build, it makes it that much more fun and that much more enjoyable in general.
Truth, I believe that.
But
I
we
agree
can
with
talk
that.
about that over and over and over again.
Mhm.
So once again, Nate, thank you very much for joining me on this
Of course.
podcast. That's
It's
a
been fun,
pleasure.
man.
I'm sure we'll do this again at some point. And as I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one, man. Until next time.
Yes, sir.